Hey gang, I hope you're having a phenomenal new year so far. Kawaii50 here with another fake grand order video, and it's time to talk about a servant who, well, she definitely had an ending. Her story arc had a beginning, a middle, and an end in Tunguska, and that is really all I am going to say about that. It is time to talk about Koyanskaya of Dark. We're going to be going over Koyan's best allies, craft essences, and command codes, so if you wanted to make sure you had the NFF Services champion on your team, well, you can go ahead and use her to the best of her ability. Hopefully, this video ends up helping you out. If it does, please like, subscribe, share, comment, etc. All of those things actually really do help me out as well. This incarnation of Koyanskaya is the Foreigner class, so if you're already missing out on a Foreigner, you've got ample reason to roll for her from the get-go. She comes equipped with 1 quick, 2 arts, and 2 buster cards with an AoE Buster Noble Phantasm. Just like her light counterpart is supporting the Buster farming meta, this Koyanskaya is part of the Buster farming meta as well. Looking at her max HP of 14,700, that is on the higher side, and considering she's going to be taking neutral damage from most things in the game, that HP gets stretched a little bit further. Her attack stat is not too shabby as well. Her store absorption is also notably on the higher side as well, so you can actually count on her to do some critical damage, and we're going to be looking into that as we talk about her skills. Koyan's first skill is Dominator Fox Rank A. This gives all of her allies, that's right, all of them, 20 to 30% Buster Card effectiveness and 20 to 30% Noble Phantasm gauge. Something that's honestly kind of unheard of, and something you can actually use to have this Koyanskaya be a very admirable plug suit supporter. Have her pop her skills, bounce her out, bring in somebody else as a supporter, and you can stack some additional stats on your main damage dealer. This does come with the downside of decreasing the critical star gather rate of all hominid servants by 100% for 1 turn, so you want to make sure that you've got some beasts on your side, because this Koyanskaya, not a huge fan of humanity, not a huge fan at all. Since this is Koyan's primary damage boost, and because of the Noble Phantasm bonus it provides mainly to your supporters is the reason I'm looking at this the way it is, so you can use those supportive Noble Phantasm from servants like Merlin. I would highly recommend activating this skill first. Get it to 10 as soon as possible. Koyan's second skill is Beasts of Slaughter Rank A. This increases a ally's NP overcharge by 2 levels. This can be very effective to cast on Koyanskaya herself in order to go ahead and get some bonuses to damage, or you can cast it on, again, a servant like Merlin to make their supportive Noble Phantasm even more powerful. But on your damage dealing servants, this also provides an additional bonus. For 3 turns when your ally attacks with buster cards, they gain 5 critical stars. Already something that command codes did, well, look at this. This skill is pushing that even further beyond. This also increases the attack and defense of all kimono trait allies. For 3 turns, they're going to get a 20 to 30% boost. This is already super good on Koyanskaya herself, considering she falls in that trait, but I have to mention 2 other very specific servants as well. One who is out on the game right now, and one who is not. Melusine is out in the game, and Melusine has the kimono trait. This means that she is going to benefit from this Koyanskaya buff, so something to consider as you're running your Melu teams to damage bosses. I also need to mention the upcoming Ibuki Doji Summer, one of the best farming servants ever released in the game. She is also going to benefit from this bonus as well. Max this skill second. And Koyan's final skill is Goddess Morph Beast Rank B. This gives her 3 turns of Ignore Invincibility, 3 turns of Critical Strength, and for the next 3 turns, she is going to deal Poison, Curse, and Burn status debuffs to her targets. All these targets are also going to take additional damage from Poison, Curses, and Burns, so this adds a little bit of extra damage over time to Koyanskaya's abilities. We're going to go ahead and max this skill last, not because it's bad per se, but just because the bonuses granted by the other 2 skills are a lot more substantial. We are, however, going to be using this skill for some fun shenanigans with Koyanskaya, and you'll learn about those in just a sec. For now, let's talk append skills. For Koyan's append skills, there are two that I think are fairly good. Extra attack boost, of course, is great if you're using her as a boss slayer, which you absolutely can. This increases her extra attack card effectiveness by 30 to 50%, which means extra stars, extra noble phantasm gain, extra damage. The most important one, however, is going to be load magical energy. When you have load magical energy maxed out on Koyanskaya, in combination with her NP charge party-wide skill, as well as a starting 50% Noble Phantasm gauge CE, she is going to be able to NP turn 1 and have a lot of flexibility in her craft essence selection. She's going to be able to use some of the best Buster CEs for farming. So you definitely want to make this append skill a priority over absolutely any of the other ones. And speaking of Noble Phantasms, let's take a look at Koyanskaya's.
太陽は死生大星は期待ことほぐがよい大地の流血をもって我はいず曲がれ星落下流水
And that was Koyan's Noble Phantasm Tunguska 9 Drive. This increases her attack by 20% for one turn and activates before damage is dealt. It deals 300 to 500% damage to all enemies, removes all of their offensive buffs, and decreases their Buster card resistance by 20% for 3 turns. Sadly, this final effect activates after damage is dealt. I would much prefer this activated before rather than the attack bonus, because that Buster card resistance reduction, you're going to see a nice bonus from it on bosses, but if Arjuna's effect activating before he deals damage has taught me anything, it's that, we want these resistance reduction effects to activate before we deal damage, because it is a massive boost when it comes to farming with Arjuna Altar, let me tell ya. This overcharge effect that this Noble Phantasm has allows her to deal super effective damage to Earth attribute enemies. There's quite a few Earth attribute enemies in the game, but I wouldn't go and consciously seek them out in order to make use of this Noble Phantasm. Just consider it a nice surprise when she deals extra damage. When it comes to NP level, NP1 to NP2 is going to be the most drastic jump in damage for Koyanskaya of Darkness, with diminishing returns in every single level beyond that. So keep that in mind as you're one of the people that summons for multiple copies for her Noble Phantasm. Let's talk craft essences. Aerial Drive remains the absolute best option in the game for Buster farming, and it fits quite nicely on Koyanskaya. Hopefully you have this max limit broken to grant the 50% starting NP gauge, in combination with a maxed append skill and Koyanskaya's maxed first skill. This is going to grant you an instant turn 1 Noble Phantasm that deals quite a bit of damage. If you're using your Koyanskaya for boss slaying, we of course have other options available to her. Holy Night Supper can be a great pick thanks to her naturally higher star weight. This increases her critical damage and her Noble Phantasm damage instead, and you can go ahead and use this to hit your bosses with some nice crits. I also definitely got to mention Starry Nights. This has that starting 50% NP gauge and a 15% Buster card effectiveness and critical strength boost. This also works very well for bosses. This last bit, I've been mentioning it on the stream. You can basically do this with any servant, but because Koyanskaya has the natural ability to inflict burn on her opponents, that makes her an excellent candidate for Honey Lake, even if you don't have any of the command codes available. Honey Lake grants Koyanskaya a permanent ignore invincibility, so it does make her third skill a little less valuable in that regard, but she also deals an extra 35 to 40% damage against enemies that are burned. So you can use this for some boss fights and challenge quests and see Koyan's damage skyrocket. I put this on my Nobunaga Avenger myself, but Koyanskaya can be an excellent candidate, especially if you have the command codes available. Speaking of command codes, let's of course start talking about burn stuff since we just started talking about Honey Lake. Absolutely any burn command code can be excellent on Koyanskaya of Darkness if you want to build her that way. Meteor Iron Bellows is just going to be the first one that I mentioned here. The critical star absorption will be really, really nice on a Buster card specifically, but really you can just completely fill out Koyan's cards with burn and watch Honey Lake put in the work if you're building her that way. If not, there are other ways we can build Koyanskaya beyond that. She does deal extra damage to wild beasts, so Code Brute can be an excellent option from the friend point gacha to push that up by an additional 5% on each card. I also need to mention Dominator Cap for the future. This is basically a souped up version of Code Brute, increasing the damage against wild beast enemies by 10%. This is basically tailor-made for Koyanskaya. And of course, general damage command codes in general work well on Koyanskaya. Linchpin of Heaven, Wedge of the Heavens, whatever you want to call it. So many servant enemies are weak against Enuma Elish. This works great on any primary damage dealer. If that is your Koyanskaya, she's your primary damage dealer for your account, make sure you go ahead and move this over to her as soon as possible. And finally, let's talk allies. I switched it up on you here, didn't I? I definitely didn't forget to talk about the allies. No freaking way. So when it comes to Koyanskaya's supporters, we definitely want the other Koyanskaya if we're doing some farming here. This is going to be your best way to charge up that Noble Phantasm, to reduce the cooldown on her skills and make her a solid wave farmer. Not necessarily the best, but she can definitely do the job thanks to her skills. If you're fighting bosses, go ahead and give your Koyanskaya a Merlin as a supporter. Merlin is still the best buster option when it comes to fighting bosses and when it comes to challenge quests. His survivability is absolutely incredible that he's able to grant your team, and on top of that, you're going to be getting some additional stars from Overcharge if you use Koyanskaya's skill on him. This will allow her to crit more and deal even more damage. And I'm just going to mention them again here for posterity because of Koyanskaya's ability to increase the damage of Kimono allies. You can sort of use her as a plug suit supporter with a craft essence that grants stars upon battle entry. Just pop all of her skills, send her to the back line, pull out somebody else, and deal some damage to a boss. Melusine is going to be the absolute best option in the game right now to do this with because of her Kimono trait. However, you can also in the future use Koyanskaya of Dark as a plug suit supporter substitute with Ibuki Doji Summer, a servant who is easily going to be one of the most desired characters of this upcoming year. Overall, gang, I think Koyanskaya of Darkness is a fairly solid foreigner class servant. She fits very, very well in the Buster meta, and she is going to be able to grant some surprising bonuses to some very powerful servants that already exist on the roster. You can use her as a farmer, you can use her as a boss slayer. Overall, she's a great pick for the foreigner class. However, we do have other really, really strong foreigner options that exist in the game already. Of special mention is Katsushika Hogusai, Mysterious Heroine XX, and of course Yongui Fei. And you might have a free foreigner in your roster already because of the recent Mysterious Idol X alter. But Koyanskaya is still absolutely worth rolling for if you like the character, or if you are completely lacking a foreigner or a buster farmer, she will get the job done. But I want to know what you all think. What are your thoughts about Koyanskaya of Darkness? Were you able to summon her? Do you also agree that Second Ascension is her best ascension? Let me know all of these things down in the comments section below. And as you head down in the comments section, be sure to check out the links to the Discord, the Patreon, and the Ko-fi. Huge thanks to absolutely everyone on those platforms for all of your continued support, and I would appreciate your continued support as we go into this new year. Continue the continuing. Wow. Continue the continuing. I guess we're not starting off this new year with anything particularly profound when it comes to quotes. Anyways, gang, that's it for me, Kawaii50, signing off before I say something really, really stupid. I hope you all have a phenomenal day, and I'll see you all in the next video.